Today you'll see 3 knit tops with cup sizes in 3 different types of knit fabrics. This pattern only has 3 pattern pieces and 8 simple steps. Takes way less than an hour to sew, and as peak of my favorite one, I do have a fail to share with you as well. One of these 3 did not turn out like I was expecting. Keep watching. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today is about easy sewing, relaxed sewing. The pattern I have to share with you today is very easy to sew. If you are newer to sewing, you are going to find this extremely easy. Perfect type of project for me as well to put in between other things I'm doing. You know, at the end of the month, I do a full sew along for Patreon. Those types of projects are intermediate to advanced, and it wipes me out for about a week of super intense filming and editing. And then I have patterns like this to use as a palette cleanser to just start over fresh and take a breather. And this is the new Gothenburg top from Itch to Stitch. Gothenburg is a city in Sweden. I'll put a picture here. I'm learning about geography with each new pattern. I really enjoy that. And this is a really simple knit top. The cool thing about it though is that even though it's a knit top, it's got cup sizes and a bust dart. It's got long sleeves. It is a funnel neckline, but it does not have a separate piece. That piece folds in and is integrated to the front and the back pieces. So it's very easy to sew. As I mentioned, there's only 3 pattern pieces and 8 simple steps. So you can definitely sew this very quickly. The bust sizes always get me with knit garments because it's not a common thing to see that there's specific cup sizes on knit garments. So I definitely wanted to give this pattern a go. And I think, you know, if I could perfect the fit and get everything to work here, this pattern could be a base for me. It could be like a blank slate for hacks. And I've done one already. So I was excited to test this one. The Gothenburg is a new pattern, so it is 20% off for a week. I will leave all the information down in the description box. If you like this top and want to make it for yourself, I'd super love it if you used my affiliate link. It doesn't cost you any extra, but I make a little commission from there, and that's partially how I make an income doing what I do. So thank you if you do use it. And as I mentioned, it is for knit fabrics. Because of the feature of the funnel neck, you can't use really lightweight, sloppy fabrics like ITY, rayon, spandex. Anything that's just too drapey and lightweight is not going to work with this type of neckline. Appropriate ones are medium weight to heavyweight knits with 25 to 35% stretch. If your fabric does not stretch much vertically, it's not that important, but at least sideways, it needs to have that amount of stretch. Now, there's a lot of fabrics described here, a lot of which I don't have access to. Scuba, Ponte, double knits, micro fleece, sweater knits, sweatshirtings. I would not want to choose one that's super structured. I have touched a few scubas in shops and I can tell there's a difference between them. They aren't all the same. Some are heavier than others. Some have a bit of drape to them, some do not have any drape to them. Not only because of the way it looks, but also because of the way it feels. So, you know, you talk about scuba, you talk about Ponte, and Ponte is not a fabric itself. It's just the way that a certain type of fiber was knitted. It is a double knit, you know, you look at it and you can't really tell which one is the wrong side, which one is the right side, because they're made in machines that use like double needles to create it. Instead of a single layer, it's got 2 layers. So it's not that Ponte is a type of fabric, you will find it everywhere, but the composition varies. And because the composition varies, the way it feels is very different. And I have a habit of going into shops when I purchase fabric and taking pictures of the sticker that's on the bolt that has the composition. That's how I've been able to learn about this. I know that Ponte Roma is not created equal. There are varying qualities and different types of composition. One of the tops I made is made with Ponte Roma, and it was a huge fail for me. It's totally unwearable, not because the garment doesn't fit. It fits like it should. It's just the way that it hangs and the way that it feels. I am not going to wear it. It just does not feel good on the skin. It doesn't feel good on the body. I would suggest you opening your eyes and looking for those percentages when you buy fabric. I'll put a few little things here of different types of compositions I've seen for Ponte Roma, and I think it makes a huge difference. And you'll see that on some of them, the fiber that is there in the highest percentage is rayon. So it'll be 60-something% rayon, and then you have 20, almost 30% polyamide or polyester. It varies. And then you have a bit of spandex because that's what allows the fabric to stretch and recover a little bit. And they're very structured, and that's why it's sort of like working with a woven, the feel that you get. They don't curl, they don't slide. Very easy to work with. So when you see a Ponte Roma and you see that the majority of its composition is rayon, you will probably find that that Ponte Roma is softer to the touch. It might be a little bit drapier because of the rayon, but there are other Ponte Romas that are majority polyester, 82 or 86% polyester, 10 to 16% rayon, and then 5% spandex. So those that have a tiny bit of rayon, you will find that are stiffer. It's just the feel, it's just not very nice. And let me show you one fabric. You won't be able to touch these, but maybe you can see how they fall and how they drape. They're very different. So I have this green one, and you can see it stretches. It's lighter weight than others I've seen. So, you know, that's how it looks. Drape, not much at all. You know, it's pretty stiff. It's being washed with softener, all the things, but it's pretty stiff. Although when I look at it, I didn't think it was that stiff when I cut it out, but it's different and it's not that soft either. I would be very, very happy to make a blazer with this, to make a pencil skirt, you know, something like that would be perfectly fine. But for something that is going to go directly on your skin like a top, I would suggest against. Now I have this other type of Ponte Roma. This one is 66% rayon, 29% polyamide, and then the rest spandex. So there's no polyester here. And it's way heavier, it's very thick. It also does not drape at all, but it feels so soft. It's so amazing. But this is bottom weight stuff. This is for pants. And why I bought these is because I have a pair of Ponte Roma pants that I bought years ago. They're black and they don't have peeling, they don't lose color, they feel so soft on the skin. And because I saw that on my pants, I went to look for fabric with that composition. And this is it. It's got polyamide instead of polyester, and it makes a huge difference. But then again, it's way too thick, not drapey. I wouldn't have chosen this for the top. So why did I choose the green one for the top? Because it was lighter weight. I don't know. It was a mistake. And you'll see it later. It was a huge mistake. So just look at your Ponte Romas, touch them, feel the composition, see if you like it. It's not a fabric I would touch again to make a top. Yes, for something that goes over other layers, but not for something that will go directly on the skin. No. I think it is a good time to talk about Ponte Roma because I did choose it and I did not like the way it turned out. And I just wanted to share my experience and just give you a little bit extra about the different compositions you'll find around there. Usually you'll find some that are labeled as deluxe or premium. They are the ones that have a higher rayon content than the more inexpensive ones. Those are basically polyester. Enough about Ponte Roma. I was able to source at last minute a lovely sweater knit that is medium weight that I thought was very appropriate, and I've shown it in my birthday haul from yesterday, my shopping spree. So you would have seen it already, and I said that you were going to see it very soon, and it's because I've made it and because it takes no time at all to make. So a sweater knit will work, but not the really thin sweater knits. It has to have a little bit of body to it so that that funnel neckline can work and not collapse. The other one I made is a mix of French terry, but rayon French terry, also medium weight, and also a sweater knit. I mixed two fabrics in the third one I made, which is a hack. The sizing is excellent from 00 to 40 US. And as I said, there are bust cup sizes from A to double D. A cup size is when there's 1 inch difference between the high bust and the full bust. And then the double D will have a 5 inch difference. I have a 3 inch difference, so my bust cup size is always a C. And it tends to stay the same whether I gain or lose weight. It sort of keeps the same proportion. So I'm constantly measuring to see, am I a D cup now? Now remember, these are sewing bust cup sizes. They are not bra cup sizes, so they have to do with the high bust and the full bust measurement. Nothing to do with the underbust or the cup size that you wear in bras. Nothing to do with it. And it's good to measure. I thought that with gaining weight, maybe I would have increased the sewing bust cup size, but actually my measurements increase sort of proportionally and they keep the 3 inch difference. So just check, you never know, you might sometimes increase or decrease a sewing bust cup size when you lose or you gain weight. It is a top, it's not meant for layering or for putting things underneath, it's not a sweater as such. So even though you do have positive ease, it's not excessive. At the bust you have about 3 inches. and at the hips about 4 inches, which is plenty enough to be comfortable. But I wouldn't be looking at putting other long sleeve tops underneath, that sort of thing. It's meant to be worn as a single layer. The length of the top hits the full hip. When I looked at the measurements, I thought it was going to be okay for me. So for my first version, I didn't make any changes to the length of the front and back pieces. I only lengthened the sleeve because that's a given. But then I went ahead and used the shorten and lengthen lines and added an inch. So that's the only fitting adjustment I did, apart from lowering the bust dart by 5/8 of an inch, which is something I always do, a given as well. So even though they are fitting adjustments, they are pretty standard for me and they don't give me any grief. I just go ahead, cut, and do it straight away, you know? Now, with my lovely green Ponte Roma version, you will see how it's sewn. It's 8 simple steps. It's very quick. So if maybe you're experienced at sewing, maybe you want to skip the how to sew it. But if you are newer, maybe you'd be interested. It does look a little bit different. There are some steps that are a little bit different to just sewing your basic t-shirt. But let's go ahead and watch in a few minutes only how to sew it.
What can I do? Time flashed by and I woke up on the other side of the moon. The sun don't rise, all the light is gone from me.
The Gothenburg top just has 3 pattern pieces. That is all you need to cut out. This is the back, this is the front. They're both on the fold, and then you have a simple sleeve over there. Now you can see that the tops look a little funny. The shape is quite interesting, so I will show you that up close. You can see I have marked this beautiful bust dart. This is according to my cup size, a C cup, so the dart volume will be different according to the cup size that you choose. I've placed the back and the front side by side so you can sort of see the shape of this hem. You can see that it curves a little lower at the back and then it goes a little bit higher in the front. That is intentional, so it's not a straight hem all the way across. So this little area here is the shoulder, and here is your armhole. Same for the front over there. And here you get an up close view of some little notches here. So from that notch here, on this curved section for the back only, you need to stabilize with a little piece of interfacing just along that curve from that notch down to the edge. You have the same type of reference points on both the fronts and the backs, and those little dots here, mark them on both sides. The sewing construction is super easy. It's only 8 steps, so I'll just go ahead and fuse that little thing here on the back to keep the shoulder stable. This is the back piece, and interfacing from that notch along the curve was step number 1. I have gone and done other things to get ready. I have serged along these edges all the way around the top there. Here I have also serged the side seams. This is Ponte. I really dislike sewing and then serging the seams together. I just think it's too bulky, so I always prefer to serge it first, sew, and then press the seams open. And it will be the same here for the shoulders. I've done the exact same thing with the front, serged along there, so that's just extra. And then the official step number 2 is sewing these bust darts. So I have them pinned, and it's just basic bust darts. You know, this is quite a stable fabric. It's pretty much like working with woven. I'll just be using a straight stitch. Bust darts are sewn, so I was able to serge this edge as well. And now comes step number 3, which is super simple. You just need to align your top here. This is the front. Put them right sides together with the back along that funny curve right there. Now there are dots here. You're supposed to match a dot here with the dot right there. Not matching the shape here, you can see the shape is different, but you just need to match the dot. You'll find a little notch there that matches the one on the other side. And now we are just going to sew this curve 3/8 seam allowance from one edge up to the top. I'll start here at the edge, go around the curve, and finish right on the dot right there. And it's the same for both sides. Super simple. There's a dot right there. For step number 4, I'm switching them around. Step number 4, you would sew your sleeve in on the flat. That would be step number 4. But my step number 4 is to sew the side seams because I'll be sewing my sleeve on the round. So I've just got pinned my side seams and I'll just whiz past and sew these. These are already serged and then they'll be pressed open. My 5th step is to sew the seam of the sleeves. You just put the sleeve right sides together. I have serged these edges separately already. I will also be pressing this one open just to avoid the bulk. And this just means that the sleeves are separate from the side seam. It's just a technique I prefer, especially with knit fabrics that are thicker and more structured. I think it's more comfortable in the underarm area and less bulky. This does not mean that sewing this is harder than usual. It's just got another little seam. Step number 6 for me is to sew these sleeves on the round. Once you finish sewing these seams from the sleeves, you can turn them right sides out and put them inside the armhole. That means that you have right sides of the fabric together. You match the single notch that is the front part of the sleeve with the single notch on the front armhole and the double notch on the back, and you go ahead and sew this on the round. This means that you have an independent seam on the round for the sleeve. The theory behind this is that it becomes a dominant seam and that you have ease of motion for your arms independent from the side seams. When you stretch your arms, you lift your arms, it won't drag along the side seam with it like it does when the whole sleeve and the side seam is just one continuous seam, like it happens when you sew sleeves on the flat. But this is personal preference. I know putting sleeves on the flat is very common practice for knit fabrics, but I opt to put mine on the round because I like how it feels. It's more comfortable and it does not make sewing the garment any harder, in my opinion. My steps number 7 are to sew these hems. The hem allowance is 3/4 of an inch or 1.9 centimeters. I have hand basted those first and pressed them just to make them neat. I find that for sleeves it's easier to have the sleeve wrong sides out. Slide the sleeve in this manner and go sewing it on the round. The entrance of the sleeve is narrower than what you could be able to slide into your machine. You have the right side of the sleeve inside. You can see I'm just moving it around and I don't have to wrestle with anything if you try and do this with the right side of the fabric out. The next hem within the same step 7 is to sew the hem at the bottom. It's slightly curved. It's the same hem allowance. I'm using a twin needle for both. My preferred stitch length for knits is 3.5, but that is personal preference and I like the results. The hand basting can come out super easy afterwards and I don't need to worry about pins. And just the fact that I hand basted it means that the hem allowance is even all the way around, and I'm always happy with the results. I never regret hand basting and doing this without pins. Step number 8 and the last one is very simple. You just fold this neckline inside at the notch. I have my seams open. You saw that I had serged them separately, and I'll just put a pin to mark where that goes. There are several ways you can finish this inside, depends on your fabric and your preference. What I'm going to do is just meet these seams and just do a bit of hand tacking there to hold it in place. Because this will be on the seam allowance inside, this won't be seen from the outside of the garment. You can also from the outside stitch in the ditch, or you can catch stitch the whole of this part of the neckline inside. I didn't want to do this, and this Ponte is plenty stiff enough for it to stay up on its own and it doesn't really need that. So I'm just doing here a really quick hand stitch to hold it in place, nothing fancy, basic hand stitch to meet the purpose of holding this down, knot it and it'll be nice and secure. And that is it, 8 steps and it's done. I'm going to show you my tester version, the one that I didn't like, and it's not because there's anything wrong with it, it's not because it doesn't fit. It's not that, it's the fabric choice, and I don't like how the fabric feels on my body. I think it's way too structured. I don't like how it hangs on the body. Although, you know, the anatomical features are there, the shoulders fit, the darts fit, all those things, I just don't like it. But here you go, green Ponte Roma. I always knew I didn't want to have a full green top. I didn't want to be all green, so that's why I have black Ponte sleeves. This black Ponte is different than this Ponte. This is way softer. I love the color, I love the green. I think this Ponte will work for other things. But for a top that goes directly on my skin, I did not enjoy it at all. There are the bust darts. Maybe you can see it because it's a solid and you saw how that was sewn. And I'll show you the neckline is just tacked here on the side. You fold it in, you tuck it down on the seam, and it's free. You know, there's always the option of catch stitching all this inside if your fabric doesn't want to stay put, but this is so stiff it stays put. I have twin needle hem, twin needle sleeve hem, all those things, so easy. You know, that fits well, everything fits well. It's just I don't like it, and I'm actually going to rip the sleeves out and keep them because I think that this fabric is fine for the sleeves. And I'm going to make another Gothenburg top and just put black sleeves on another one with a better fabric. So that is how I'm going to save this one. I will seam rip all this. You know, they are pretty large pieces, and I'm sure this is going to work for something else. I can use it for facings or whatever. It's not that the fabric is going to go to waste. It's just that I'm not going to keep this and I'm not going to wear it, which means it's a sewing fail for me. Usually my sewing fails have got to do with style choices. Sometimes I've chosen a style that does not look good on me or that I don't feel good in. And if I'm not going to wear it, it's a fail. In this case, this is a fail because I don't like how the fabric feels on my body, and I've learned my lesson to never, ever, ever, ever make a top in a Ponte. I just don't want to make a top in a Ponte Roma. Even if it's rayon, even if it's whatever composition, it's just too structured and too heavy. I just don't like it. So you choose. Maybe you like a top in Ponte Roma, but I'm not going to make any more. And this taught me that lesson. And you know, when you fail, it's not all bad. Failing is part of learning, and I'm never going to forget this experience with this type of fabric. I know now that I like Ponte Roma. I've always liked it, but I've always used it for other things, not a top. So those are my thoughts on that. And I have filmed how it looks so you can see I'm not happy. You know, I have drag lines here, down the side a little bit. It's just too stiff and it just hangs like stiff. I don't like it. I try to be positive when I had it on. This is my Gothenburg top with a pencil skirt, a really funny pencil skirt. I think it goes well because of the black sleeves here and the green. I didn't want a top that was entirely green. I didn't do any length adjustments for this area. So because I'm taller, it might look shorter on me than on other people. But I did that on purpose. I did lengthen the sleeves though. I hope you can see the fit of the bust dart there. I had to back my bust dart, make it shorter by 3/8 of an inch and lower it by 5/8 of an inch, and there it fits well. But those are standard adjustments for me. So I really love that about this top, that it has the cup sizes and the dart that's going to fit really well around here. Here's a closer look of the upper part of this top. Sleeves fit well. I think that's good. And it's only tucked here on the sides on mine. My fabric is stiff enough not to need anything done otherwise. And it's like a funnel neck, but it's just folded under and it's not really tight on my neck. You can see this space there. I don't feel it pulling or trying to choke me or anything like that. And that's very important for me. The next one I am in love with. It's so pretty, it's so soft, it hangs just the way I want it to be, and it's the one I made in a sweater knit. This sweater knit is so soft. It's amazing how soft it is. It's part of my birthday shopping spree and I love it. It's just, yeah, it's just amazingly soft, and I'm perfectly able to wear this directly on my skin. I don't need anything in between. And I love the stripes, I love the texture. It is medium weight. It's not a really light sweater knit, but it has a little bit of drape. I think because it's not so thin, the neckline holds up very well. It's very nice. It's just folded in and tucked on the sides here on the shoulder seams. And it's just so beautiful. You can see that there's different tones here of the gray, and I left this darker area around the bust. You can see where the stripes go funny there with the dots that are inside. On the sides, I tried to match the stripes a little bit and the darker area with the lighter areas so that we're on the same place. So I had that precaution when I was cutting, so I didn't end up with a darker part on the back that doesn't match the front, that sort of thing. And the sleeves, I cut them both the same so that they would have the darker part in the same area, like that. So I don't have one. You know what I mean. I took my time to cut it out. So easy to sew, so fast. Also has a twin needle hem, which you can't see because the thread just hides in there in the little fluffiness of the fabric. And I love this one. Let's see how it looks. Here's my Gothenburg top in a sweater knit, and I love the look of this with this skirt and these grey booties. I think they go really well, and I really love this entire look. It's how I would wear it. There's no difference to the green one I made in Ponte, Roma. The only difference is the fabric, and that I've added an inch at the shorten and lengthen lines here. I think this length is a little bit better than the other one. Same extra inch added on the sleeves, and I think the fit is amazing. It feels amazing on, so soft, so cozy, and just the hang of this fabric just feels so much better on the skin compared to Ponte Roma, and I'll show you up closer. Here on the main body you can see the length. I have actually added an inch to this one, so it does sort of hit the full hip there. Slight curve here, but not that noticeable. I've tried to match the dark areas of the print right there, lighter colors right there. So I'm very happy with this length and the ease. It's all very good, and I feel that the bust studs make a huge difference. I really like the fit here on the side. Here you can see the fit on the top. It's very nice. It's such a different feel to the Ponte, so much softer. Sweater knit just feels so much better on the skin. It just feels softer in the way the garment hangs, not the way the fabric feels as such. And even the neckline lies nicer. I feel like it's still standing up on its own. I didn't need to do anything different there, but I feel that it's got a little bit more room there. You know, it's very comfortable. It's just folded in. You know, it's not basted down or anything, and it stays put. Shoulder fit is good. Everything else is the same, and I'm so much happier with this version, with this fabric compared to the Ponte Roma. I was not happy with that one, and it's just a fabric choice thing. Even though the fit is pretty much the same, it just looks different, it feels different, and I prefer this one. Maybe you can see where the stripes go funny, where the bust side is. It's really good. It fits really well here at the bust after lowering, of course. And I like this darker section here at the bust and at the neckline, and I've got some dark at the sleeves there. I really like how that turned out. So much happier with this one. I love this. I would call my other one my muslin. I don't think it's very wearable. Just the way that I feel the skin on the body, although there's nothing wrong with the garment, it's just too stiff, and I know I'm not going to enjoy that on my skin. Let's call that a muslin, and let's call this my definite one, and I'm very happy with this one. I'd definitely make it again. It's such a fast make, so easy to make. Neckline is so easy to sew up, and no fuss, nothing. It's not really high, it's not tight pulling back, and that's why there's a little bit of ease here. And I like that cup size with the bust tight is amazing. Last one was made last after doing those other ones, but the idea had been brewing in my head as soon as I was putting this PDF together and I was looking at that dart. I was thinking, you know, a nice dart there is game to be played around with. You can remove it, just transfer it and make it into something else. I wanted to transform these pieces to have princess seams. It doesn't mean that you're getting rid of the dart. The dart will be there, but just transformed into something else. So I did my adjustments. I cut out that dart, transferred that volume up to the armhole, created the curve, and created my princess seam, which is something that is not hard to do. I haven't shown it on the channel, I don't think, but it's something that I've loved doing in the past with woven fabrics. You know, when you manipulate your block to create a princess seam. So I have all that process in Patreon today for the lovely friends who support me there. So if you are on Patreon, you can see how I transformed this into a princess seam. This one also was special because I wanted to use scraps. When you have either tops or hoodies or blouses or anything with princess seams, you can color block. You can use those side panels out of different fabrics. They are pretty small, so it's easy to fit them in little scraps. And in 2018, I made a cardigan from a really cool sweater knit with like an Aztec print. and it's also an edge to stitch pattern, the Aveiro cardigan, and I had a little bit left over, maybe a little over half a yard left, which was not enough to make a skirt, a top, nothing. But I always knew for color blocking it was going to work someday, so I used it for this one. I also had some leftover black rayon French terry from making the Fortuna joggers from the So Beautiful book. I had like weird random leftover chunks there, so I was able to cut part of the sleeve from the black rayon French terry and the center pieces, and then the side pieces from the print. So it was super fun, super easy and fast. Because this one doesn't have the side buster, it's harder for me to tell really quickly which is the front and the back. So inside where the neckline folds, I have sewn a little white tack thing there with thread, so I can see it quickly and know that that's the back. So here's how it looks. You can see that I've done the sleeve partially with the rayon French terry because I had a piece that would just allow that length, and then the rest is made out of the sweater knit here. It's so cool. I love these colors, the grays, the reds, the blacks, just so nice. And then I've got the princess seams with that as well. All this neckline area, the top of the sleeve is the rayon French terry, which is, if you look, you can see it's a pretty hefty fabric. It's not light at all. So I think it's got enough body to be able to cope with this type of funnel neckline that's just folded in. That's fine. And then at the sides, I have this sweater knit, and they are both sort of the same weight. When I color block, I try to combine fabrics have the same weight. I wouldn't have wanted to use anything lighter with this, you know. And at the back, I have princess seams as well, but the princess seams on the back are just for show. They don't affect the fitting or anything. I just do a curve, separate it, and added seam allowance. But to create the princess seams here on the front, I had to get rid of the side dart and transfer it over here to the armhole. So in essence, it gives a really different look, but the fitting of the bust for the cup size is still the same, you know? So I'm very happy. This is a project that makes me happy on all levels because I get to cut up my pattern, do those things that I like to do a lot. They are the ones that make me the most happy. And also I got to use up scraps, which also is always amazing, especially when you have little pieces of nice stuff that I know were going to be nice. To see them in a garment already is amazing, and this is so unique. No one's going to have anything like this, and yeah, I absolutely love it. So let's see this one on. This is my hack Gothenburg top. I dreamed of doing this ever since the start of the pattern test. I finally made it come true, and I love projects like this where I can be creative and just do a few pattern hacks, move a little dart here and there and transform it into something else is the best. And I've used my scraps and I'm very happy. I've got a sweater knit on the side and rayon French terry in the center with a black, and I've also color blocked the sleeves to use up all of these scraps. I think this pattern can be a blank slate for me to make more hacks, and this could easily become a dress as well with the princess seams. Love the look of that. Here's a look at the bottom part. It's the same length as the original, nothing has changed. It's just that we have one fabric here, two on the side. I really like the look of the princess seams. I think it gives this a really original look. No one's gonna have anything like this. And also this, it makes it look like it's got a long cuff, but it doesn't. It's just I cut the sleeve in two and color blocked it. The princess seams don't change the fit of the top at all. It's got the same ease, the same good bust shaping. It's just a princess seam instead of a dart. You can't tell it's been hacked up here because the neckline is exactly the same. This is the rayon French terry, and I think it's still structured enough to not need anything. I still just have it folded back. The top of the sleeves looks the same, but then I have a color blocked area there just to use up all my scrap. I'm so happy with this version. I had it in my head ever since I started testing this pattern. You know, a dart, when you see it there, it can become so many things, and one of them is a princess seam. And tops like this with princess seams are great scrap busters. You can use small pieces that you have left over, and it's just another look to get the really good bust fit with the correct cup size, but without having the dart there, just having the princess seam there instead. Excellent fit here on the bust. I really like that. And the princess seams on the back are just for show. They don't affect the fit or anything. It's just a curve and an extra seam. So I'm so happy. I was humming and singing all the time I was making this. Took less than an hour to sew, and I'm very happy to have given the scraps a use. and to also have transformed that into a princess seam, which is really nice. I love it. I mentioned that this pattern was sort of like a blank slate for me for knits. I know it fits, I know the cup size fits, so I can see many more things being done to this pattern. This is a princess seam top. I could easily just lengthen it down to a dress. Easy peasy. I could make it sleeveless. And you know these 60s style dresses that are slightly A-line, that had a bit of a high neckline, they were sleeveless. I'll show you some images here. I can totally see that. Sleeveless would be amazing. And just moving that dot around was just so much fun for me. I will definitely make this again, especially knowing that I have a pair of black sleeves from this pattern that are going to work if I find another fabric to use for the top. I'm always happy to have a contrast fabric here and black sleeves. I think it's not a wrong look, and I actually do like it. So there's definitely at least one or two more in my future for sure. And plus all the other hacks I want to do with it, you know. Remember, the Gothenburg top is new and it's on sale for a week, 20% off. You can find all the information in the description box, and also my affiliate link if you would like to use it. I will see you again very soon with more sewing. Bye!